To eat or not to eat? That's the question, but what's the answer? Well, if you're like me and you love food, that's what you ask yourself all day, every day, 24/7, whether you're hungry or not. However, many Americans base their food choices off of what looks good because if it looks good and it tastes good, it must be good for you. But that's probably why 97% of Americans live an unhealthy lifestyle. I think that means it's time to make a change, and that starts with your nutrition. So, I will demonstrate how to balance your diet by reading the nutrition label, counting your calories by changing them from grams into calories, and then making adjustments to achieve the perfect balanced diet of 50-30-20. Let's see how you do that. Well, before you can balance your calories, you have to know where they're coming from. So, let's find out. You'll first look at a nutrition facts label. At the top, you'll see serving size, servings per container, calories, which will be per that serving. So it's really important that you know what your serving size is because that varies depending on what food you eat. After your calories, you'll look down to see fat. Now, fat's broken down into saturated, trans, and unsaturated, which is known as your healthy fats. However, we tend to eat way too much fat in our diets. And then you'll see total carbs broken down into diets, and then sugars, which we all know and love. After that, you have proteins, which is your third macronutrient, and it's broken down in grams, like carbs and fat. But however, unlike carbs and fat, it's always good to have a high number for your protein. So that's just the basics of what you need off of your nutrition label. But where it says calories, fat, carbs, and protein are all in grams, not in calories. And so how are you supposed to know how many you're eating of each? Well, I'll tell you how you do that. With some simple math, you can turn grams into calories. This will help you achieve a balanced diet. So let's just take fat. Well, you have 9 calories in every gram of fat, which is significantly more than the 4 calories you have for every gram of carb and 4 calories for every gram of protein. So, it's pretty easy to achieve a lot of calories from fat considering just 1 gram is 9 calories. So maybe you look at a label and you see, oh, it's only got 5 grams of fat in it. That's not a lot. Well, that's where it's misleading because if you multiply that by 9, you're at 45 calories from fat. Whereas if you take 1 gram of carb or 4 grams of carbs and you multiply that by 4, that's only 16 calories. And protein times 4 is only 8 calories. So if you look here, you've taken all your grams, which will come from the nutrition label, and you've turned them into calories. But 45 calories is a lot more than 16 and 8. And so this is not a balanced diet. This is heavy on fat and very low on protein. So now that you have this simple math of grams to calories, let's see how you turn this into a percentage for your overall calorie intake. Balance is based off of what you just learned. So now you just calculate the percentage of each of the macros and see if it's balanced or not. Your goal is a 50-30-20. That's 50% carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 20% fat. Now, most people probably have way more carbs and way more fat and not enough protein. And so if you entered your food, this might be significantly larger than the rest of them. But if you're gonna go larger on one area, make sure it's the protein and go less on the fat. Just remember, the fat is way easier to get on a larger percentage because it's 9 calories per gram. So there's really 2 ways to achieve the balance of a 50-30-20. One is by calculating it, like I showed you how, going from grams to calories. But if you're like me and you just don't have the time or don't want to spend the time, you can simply just download an app called MyPlate or MyFitnessPal, and all you have to do is just scan the item, like for instance this Clif Bar. You just scan a Clif Bar and then it'll do all the math for you and it'll show up on the app in percentages with grams on the side. So at the end of the day, after you enter all your food, whether you scan it or you enter it by searching it, you can look and see, according to your personal calorie goal, if you've achieved a balanced diet. Remember, it doesn't have to be a perfect 50, 30, 20. So if you have 51 or 29 and 19, that's okay too. This is just a really good goal to try to achieve for a balanced diet. So let's just go over one more time the key information on how to balance your diet. You'll first read the nutrition label, getting what you need off of that from your fats, carbs, and proteins in grams, and then you'll convert grams to calories, which you'll use to calculate the percentage. So then all you have to do is adjust to get the 50, 30, 20, which is 50% carbs, 30% protein, and 20% fat. So the question is, to eat or not to eat, what will you decide?